Cool. All right. I'm sorry if I sound a little sick. I've been super congested like the whole week. Don't know why, but it's okay. I'm not sick or anything. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started today. We've got an interesting question talking about how everything is FX and is the strategy applicable to indexes, commodities, etc. I would say it's a yes. Um, I would say yes solely because I would say majority of the content that I have is not necessarily a step by step by step. It's more of you have content one, which is the original information. We have refined curriculum, and then we have zooms, and then you see the zooms change over time. So I would say it's more so a conjunction of whatever you can, essentially whatever makes sense to you, whatever you can actually apply, putting that into one, and then applying that to a specific pair, index, or commodity, right? Um, and something I talked about with the group over the past maybe month now, it's transitioning from FX to, let's say, commodities slash indexes, right? Whether it be futures or it doesn't matter how you trade it, but the main difference, right, that I saw or that I've been noting. All right, let me see if I could find these messages. Give me 1 second, so I can just show y'all a quick example. And this is the con, in my opinion, of trading low volatility pairs versus high volatility pairs. Now, let me just find this and then I'll explain. Nope. Here we go. Was it this one? No, wrong one. Here we go. So, two examples, right? Two examples. We go to gold and we go to euro. Very similar setup. Very, very similar setup. Right? And we talked about this in the Zoom, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. Very similar setup, right? Essentially, with the euro, we have a structural disruption, then we have a transition and a mitigation to the TP. Okay, that's one. And the second setup is in gold, relatively the same setup, because unwillingness, break of structure, this high, failed to break this high. Then we had a potential internal structural disruption, right, leading into inefficiency being left behind. That was mitigated, and then we hit target, right? So relatively the same type of setup, where it's technically counter trend, technically. But what is the difference here? If we are trading both on the same account, okay? The biggest difference, one sec. The biggest difference would be with gold, you're looking at about 26 pips of a stop loss, right? 26 pips, whereas you're looking at about 6 pips with your USD. So let's say we have a $100,000 account and that 6 pips stop based on a 1%, which is 1,000. If we were to do that math, let me do that math really quick. That is about a 16 lot, right? I'm going to note that 16 lots. Whereas if I'm doing this with Euro US, I mean with gold, if I have a 26 pip stop, then on the same risk, it's about a little bit under 4 lots. Right? So it's a big difference, right? Not in terms of the return that you're getting, because if anything, you're getting more return with the higher or with the lower lot size just because of risk to reward, right? But the biggest difference has to be, right? When you're using more lots, you're at more risk of potential slippage, you're at more risk of higher commissions, right? And obviously, if you get slipped on a low stop, and let's say you get like let's say like a 5 pip skip, then your risk is almost double now with the Euro USD trade, whereas with the XAU trade, it would be let's say about 20% more if we were to have that extra 5 pip slip, right? So my goal, exactly. So if I want to avoid that, then it just makes more sense to trade pairs with higher volatility, which is obviously your commodities, your metals, your oil, right? Obviously the S&P, ES1, etc. That could be much more convenient in theory because of a higher potential stop loss. Excuse me, higher potential stop loss, lower commissions, but relatively the same return. Sorry, right? And that's kind of like why I've been transitioning away from the regular pairs that I've always been trading. Like for you guys know, for years, pretty much the past 2 years, it's only been AU, EU, and then recently GU, right? So now I've really tried to expand my watch list, not necessarily expand, but more so add variety, right? Whereas now the only three pairs that I'm looking at are the euro, the S&P, and gold, right? Gold is the only one I didn't get a trade in this week, solely because I'm trying to test these out, see what the biggest differences are. And when we're looking at this, and I think it was Daniel that said this, but it's like when these pairs move, they move, right? They move easily 100 pips within an hour, right? Like that's probably what happened today. It's not gonna do it. Okay. Today about 400 pips, and that's massive, right? Whereas with EU, just today alone, 45, right? So it's a very big difference, a 10x difference, right? So if it's a 10x difference in volatility, but stop loss sizes aren't 10x, right? Then you have a discrepancy there to where you can capitalize and get a very big move. So that's kind of what I've been studying for the past 2 weeks or so. XAU was a bit difficult to find a trade in, solely because I was waiting for a bit of a deeper retracement, and then when this actually moved, it was outside of my session hours. So the new question now is, do I want to scalp these or do I want to intraday swing these? You know what I mean? Because from a major intraday perspective, I actually did have this noted from I think earlier this week, yeah, Tuesday, where if we take out all the drawings, take out this, right? We have bearish direction, right? We have a confirmed high. This now becomes internal unwillingness. So this has an internal impulse, and there was a 61.8 between that high and this low into 61.8, and it reached the final extension before now melting, right? So that would have been more of like an intraday or a major intraday setup because that took from Tuesday up until Thursday, right? But if I want to trade in between that, then I do have to obviously zoom in, etc. And I just didn't find any setups for the week on that. So my setups for this week, right? This is my first one on the S&P this week. Let me organize this. Right, where the biggest difference I noted here, right, is especially with the ES1 and let's say NQ and let's say the Dow, right? Most of these have been bullish forever, right? So the external bias can relatively be the same year round, just because it's always been bullish, right? And yes, even though it's always been bullish, we could be due for a correction, but we just don't know when that will happen and how far the retracement will be. So you just kind of have to rely on the direction continuing based on where it's coming from, right? And that's why direction is always the first step of the process before analyzing liquidity and then finding an execution, right? So I know that my direction is bullish, right? I know that I've solidified this high, right? This high, oh, I'm sorry, this low was then solidified. So this should realistically be the invalidation for reaching this new high if this bullish bias is to sustain itself, right? But now the question is, how do I get an entry? And I will say I kind of rushed the entry a bit. It was a bit, um, I wouldn't say rushed, but a bit aggressive. And the reason why I say that is because this low failed to break this previous high, right? Meaning we have unwillingness. And now this is a sign of liquidity. But you guys know that equal highs does not mean you want to buy, right? Equal highs just mean that you have liquidity resting here. And I would need something to show me that we are going to reach that higher point. So the biggest difference here with why I actually executed this was, one, we swept liquidity here, right? We swept liquidity here and we caused an engulfing. You guys know over the years, engulfing has probably been one of the number one confirmations that I've seen over the years, solely because an engulfing naturally means that you leave inefficiency behind, right? So as I'm noting that, it's not just a sweep as to why I'm being, or as to why I'm executing bullish, but we have the inefficiency left and the reaction from the internal move, which would be high, low retracement. This order flow is extremely weak. We have 1, 2, 3 tops and we're failing to come lower. So what does that mean? This is old course material, low momentum. So we have low momentum, we have a sweep. I said, you know what? I think if I am to keep my invalidation here, right, because if this is to break, then this sweep model would now be invalidated and I can justify a bearish move, right? But I don't want to do that because my original direction is bullish. So I went solely based on the sweep, right? I went based on low momentum. And if I put my SL at the invalidation, right, if this is to go, this is going to go. And the only way this is going to lose is if my bias is invalid. So that was that. And this ended up flying, over the next like 12, 15 hours. And this actually gave a very big move. We could actually come back to this. Um, let's see, where was it? I think I have, yeah, right here. Right, and that was here. And this is exactly what I'm trying to note with a lot of these commodity pairs, or a lot of these indexes, sorry. All right, similar to commodities, where this just moves, right? And how a simple M5 candle can really produce very, very high risk to reward. But now the challenging part of this would be, how do you trail this, right? Like if I'm looking at this continuing, then the only reasonable way I can potentially catch the whole move is if I'm using my management rules, which is, as you guys know, in order for me to move my invalidation, I need to have a CBOS and I have to have a continuation afterwards. So low, 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 CBOS, right? CBOS, and then a continuation. Okay, I can now move my invalidation here. And you can see that would have climbed way higher. And this is why I wait for the CBOS continuation, because once you have a CBOS continuation, this, right, well, in Wyckoff terms, would be considered a reaccumulation, a continuation to the upside. So because that is the case, I cannot justify this as a new invalidation. Right, it's CBOS continuation, right? If a high becomes solidified in a bullish move and then gets taken out, okay, cool. We can move our SL upward, and that could have taken me all the way here. And if I was actually like paying attention, could have potentially gotten here. Excuse me, and that would have been a 1 to 9, which is very, very good, right? And you don't see these moves with the euro, with gold, especially. I mean, with gold. I'm sorry, with GBP USD, with AUD USD. I have not seen these moves during New York for a while. Like these are massive moves, right? Like this is 165 pips. You will not see this occur on Euro USD as often as you will see this happen on gold slash S&P, right? So that's kind of where I'm trying to adjust now. Because I've been doing these adjustments, I haven't really looked at my swing pairs, right? Because maybe I can actually just intraday the whole way. So it's kind of just like I'm feeling it out, seeing what can happen, what I can test, and seeing what kind of feedback I can give you all on this. So that concludes this first trade. That was about a 1 to 2.4, 2.6, sorry. That was honestly very good trade in my opinion. If I would have waited for the full confirmation, like let's say we wait for this whole move to come up, but I know that the market was closed during this time, and now this is like during Asia session, and I don't like to execute during Asia session, so just like you know what, if I'm already in, I'm already in, and I'll just let this ride. So if I was to have waited for this high to be taken, then this low is solidified, and you can easily justify a higher risk, a higher invalidation point, but this is still aggressive because this could still shake out this previous low without invalidating the entire POI, right? Because the only way to invalidate the POI would be is if this was to break, right? And then this POI was to break, and that is order flow disruption, right? So either way, my stop loss probably would have still been here, even if I waited for that transition. Um, but yeah, overall, I thought that was a pretty good trade. Let's see, that was here. All right, next one. This was from my iPad yesterday, I believe. Does that mean high volatility pairs like one S&P are the best for swinging? No. Well, no. Hold on. There's no such thing as the best pairs for swinging, scalping, or intrading. It just depends on like the type of trade that you're taking is not depending on the pair. It's depending on the time frames that you're using, right? That's like I have that in the book, I think, where certain types of traders will trade within certain amounts of perimeters, right? Like for example, a scalper will primarily focus, let's say, on the 15-minute down, right, down to the M1. Whereas an intraday trader, depending on the type, minor or major, it could be from a 5 to 10 minute up until M30 H1, and then a major intraday could go all the way to H4, right? So it really just depends on you solidifying what types of time frames you're going to use so that that establishes the type of trader that you are, because you can sometimes get confused if you're looking for an intraday trade, but then you zoom into M1, right? And now you're seeing a bearish transition on the M1, but your major intraday is still bullish, right? So you're going to rely on a scalp invalidation on a major intraday bias. That may not be the best thing to do, right? Unless you know you have that skill, you've already accumulated those reps in, and this it's something that you've already tested out. But for the most part, most people probably cannot do that, right? That's why I think the easiest way to do it is solidify the type of trader that you are, figure out those time frames, and now solely commit to those time frames. Right? Hope that makes sense. Um, what do you mean if I'm willing to post them to the Discord? Well, the private group has all of my executions. Every before after that I take or that I know is in there. Oh, okay. Yeah, on Instagram. No. Hold on. Like the actual executions that I take, they're all in the private Discord, right? For the most part, social media, I try to let Sergio handle all that stuff, and I typically just do types of back tests and stuff like that because I just think that I can give the most value on the zooms. But yeah, I don't really handle too much on social media. Let's see, anything else? Nope. Okay, cool. So second trade, this was yesterday morning, right, where we were technically bullish, right, and why I was actually looking for a bullish bias was because one, we do have a high into a low, and then we have a retracement. That retracement was solidified, so we now have a pullback high. And the only risk I knew I was taking with this trade is that the pullback high was not taken. But after the pullback high was solidified, we then swept previous lows and we failed to break this high. I mean, this low, sorry. Failed to break the low and then it solidified, right? So once the low solidified, I'm like, okay, I think we have a bullish structural range intact and we're in a very hefty discount. So I said, you know what? If I can find a bullish transition, I could probably justify coming up in looking for some type of bullish bias. So I was aiming for a previous high because maybe we would need previous liquidity to then continue lower. And that was my thought process through this whole trade. So after this sweep occurred, right, we solidified that. And then this can also be justified, right? If we're looking at this from a high low retracement, right, I still can't buy, right? Like I cannot buy here, right? Because I'm kind of assuming that this is going to reverse. So I needed to wait for more data. The more data that I'm referring to, right, is that this low was swept and was solidified. So we now have the internal trend giving me unwillingness and it's been solidified. So once I saw a potential liquidity grab continuation, right, I'm like, okay, let's see, this can probably give me some type of move to the upside. Um, and unfortunately, this one ended up in a loss. It gave me the reaction. I wasn't able to move my invalidation at the time because I could have justified that after the first immediate structure break, this low is solidified, so I can move my invalidation here, and that would make my my 4 pip stop into about a 2 or maybe a 1.5. Excuse me. So unfortunately, I was not able to move my stop loss there. I was going to move the invalidation once this high broke, right? Because then that would be internal CBOS continuation. So unfortunately, this ended up in a full 1 hour loss. And I guess I just learned my lesson where you should stay with the directional bias, right?
Hey Fredo, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Can I ask questions right now, or do you want to wait till the end?
What is it about this?
Yes, it is.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so yesterday I was selling around. It's hard without the markups right now. I'm at work, so I can't really
No
go
worries.
through this. But I was selling. I was selling basically around. Let's see here, 107 to 70 or so. Um, After we had the break of 107 to 30.
Can you annotate on my screen or no?
Let me see if I could try. Okay. I think I'll probably have to go whiteboard. If I can't figure this out in like 10 seconds, then I'll just oh, found it. Uh Whiteboard. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. I'll just ask something later down the road.
Let's see. 107 point what?
I sold after the break of 107.230 around that
After this
more on
break?
the left. No, it was right there, right where the break of that wick right there,
Mm-hmm.
more to your left, like in the center of your screen right there.
So here.
More to the left. Sorry, right there. Oh, you just missed it. Right there.
Here.
To the right.
Here.
There you go.
Oh, here.
Yeah,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I sold there. Obviously, I was taken out after the fact, but my thought process was like I was going. It was more of a continuation trade. I know there were equal lows there. I guess mistakenly I probably used that more as a target,
Mm-hmm.
which maybe I shouldn't have, just like you mentioned like 10 minutes ago. But um, at the end of the day, I was wrong. I guess the market was trying to take more liquidity to the top side. But what would you suggest?
I wouldn't.
For that?
Here's what I would say, bro. I think this is perfect. I think that's great because one,
Yeah.
you have this supporting the move. You're bearish,
Hmm.
right? You have relative equal highs that's taken, and then you have the structure break. So now the whole buy and
Correct.
sell is a point of interest. So this is fine. This is a great execution, very conservative execution. And there's also disruption here because we have a POI reaction and then break of the POI. But I'm assuming you're aiming for this low.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is correct. That's how you're supposed to go about it. But the refinement that I've made over time is that there was this, I had I have PTSD from this one trade. It's been like 2.5 years ago. It was like a Euro GBP swing, and it dropped like 100 pips, and it missed my target by 1 pip, and then it came right back up to reverse on me. And ever since then, it's kind of just stayed in my head. So the only way that I can uh, reflect on that and fix that solution or fix that mistake is the not here. The mistake isn't here. This is perfect. The execution is perfect. But either I can refine my TP to the first immediate low because this is the one a solidified low that led into the transition. So you could either accommodate for a shorter TP because you're kind of risking 2 pips of profit for the entire move, and that's still about a 1 to 3 ish here. Or, right, the more realistic approach that I take now is if my TP is, let's say, here and my trade is here, I'm now inside of my M1. And as soon as I see a CBOS, which would have probably been in this wick, I'm out of the trade. So whenever I'm like I said with the gold trade, um, or the ES1 trade, sorry, I like to wait for the CBOS continuation to move my stop loss. But if I'm really close to my TP, any CBOS, I'm just gonna exit because I'd rather exit with this much profit than risk that much profit for a pullback to then maybe give me another move. Because realistically, bro, the invalidation was never hit. Low, I mean, high, low, retracement. This becomes solidified. This invalidation was never hit before the TP. So this is now no longer like a U problem. This is just a timing problem. So to fix that timing problem, I'm going to try to exit as soon as I can and just try to catch the volatility that's given to me rather than wait for all of this to occur and then give me the move. Because if we're, let's say, taking this position, we're waiting for this TP, right? Okay, fuck. Now, if this comes back into my POI, that's going to make me think, oh, okay, we have a bullish reversal, right? We have a bullish reversal, and I can probably justify a move to the upside, right? So rather than going through potentially breaking the rules and going against the continuation, you could just cut it easy, or, right, you can just wait. So it's just personal preference there, but the execution was good.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, that
just
reminds me of like
it would just be a management thing.
yeah, exit plan,
Mm-hmm.
whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Let's see. Okay, last one. So this was another S&P trade. This was a liquidity grab continuation model because after the impulsive move from the day before, or which was that first ES1 trade that I showed you, we went up very, very high. We gave that very, very big impulse to the upside. And following that move, we then see a big drop. But just because we see a big drop, it's obviously externally very, very bullish. So I would need a justification as to why I should be bearish. So that was based on the LGC. Why? Because we took out a CBOS. So if this was to be bullish, this would have gone from here and it would have pretty much flew from here if we were to stay bullish. But because that solidified low gave a CBOS and then confirmed the LG, this is now a model that's in play. And my execution is based on, I believe this is an M5. We can go back and go over this. But this was pretty much a scenario. And the reason why I use this as my validation is because if we were to break this low and then break this high, that is now a bullish LG. And because we are externally bullish, this could probably fly. So I knew that if that zone was to break, then my trade is invalidated. And fortunately, this one did come out and give me a winner, right? And if you're wondering what my TP is here, it's actually the previous low of that first scenario, right? Because we had the big impulse to the upside, then we had unwillingness and a full break of the final low into the high. Okay, internally we are now bearish, right? But I cannot just sell based on the POI. That's why I wait for the model and then I'm giving the execution and I'm aiming for a previous low. And I put this previous low because it was very close to this relative equal low here. So I said, you know what, if the bias is correct, this is going to keep going. And this kind of goes back to that first conversation I had where these pairs just move, you know? And just like that, it would have been another 1 to 10 if I'm trailing it. Exactly. So I guess it's just something I'm going to have to modify over time. See if I can hold a little bit longer because you guys know I don't take partials. Right. Back when we used to swing, it was taking partials after, you know, significant highs and lows. But now it was really more of a full volume approach. That's from a scout POV. So I want to see if I'm able to use my management rules and also maintain the volume to really maximize the R over the RR. So that's something that I'm still studying as well, something I'm trying to fix up. But that kind of, I think that's it for trades today. I don't know if you guys have any questions, concerns with these. I hope that you see that this also works on indexes, whoever asked that question. You trailed your trade yesterday and caught some extra points on Nas. Let's see it. Which one? But when I trade oil, I don't know, man. I don't know. I haven't really I haven't really looked into it. I kind of like to stick to three things. I think more than three pairs has become very difficult for me. And I've never studied the order flow here as well. Like, let's see, when does this move? New York, London, New York. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know. I just doesn't really catch my eye. Doesn't catch my eye. Let's see. Oh yes, I remember this trade. Cool. So let's see. What was? So you trailed your stop, right? So let's say, right, CBOS continuation, trailed stop one, and that really didn't give any more breaks. Previous lower high. That's fine. That's fine. So every time you break a new low, you just move it to the immediate lower high. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Okay. Because yeah, this actually went even further than your TP. Because this could be a trailed stop, and then this could be a trailed stop, and then this could be a trailed stop, and then this would be the exit. Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. See. So yeah. So it's exactly what I would like to do as well. Because if you're able to hold the full volume on that, all you need is 1 to 2 trades of these a week, and these are we're talking like 1 to 8s, 1 to 9s. You know. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And let's see who asked that question in the beginning. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. It was Brian. Yeah. So Brian. So Brian meet Brian with a Y. Brian with a Y has transitioned over to futures. I think it's been what, like 6 weeks now. And I've seen a very, very big jump in his trading since he switched over to futures. One thing I implemented that helped me hold fully was backtesting. Yeah, honestly, the I think the biggest thing about holding has to be acknowledging where you are in a, let's say, a major intraday slash minor intraday. If you know that and you're scalping your way through it, you can probably achieve like a quote unquote high risk to reward. Right now, the only thing that would limit me was the FX pairs, in my opinion, That's why I really transitioned over to just taking that immediate low, because a lot of the time that first level of liquidity is taken, and then my trade is pretty much gonna hit break even. So now maybe with these commodities slash indexes, maybe it could be a bit more different. Let's see. Trade one, two, three, four. Okay. So directionally bullish. Yes, this is an LGC. Excuse me. Very good, very good. This is pretty much textbook here. So direction is up. Obviously, liquidity has been swept, but this is also a CBOS, meaning internally you are bearish. So you're internally bearish, and then you sweep another low, and then you break the high that came into the low, right? And the previous level as well. So I would say, yes, it is an LGC, but the LGC is confirmed here solely because this high created that final low, right? Notice how this high created that final low and that swept this too, but we cannot buy because this is still intact, right? So high that came into the low, broke, so now we can justify and move to the upside. But yeah, this is very good. I like the fib. I think this is like a 71 maybe, but there is a turbulence point here with SL invalidation, and that's perfect. Yeah, very good, very good. And I guess this would have been your conservative entry, but the problem here is where would you set the invalidation, right? That would be the only problem with a conservative entry here. Because if we take this entry, put the SL here, then the risk reward is maybe like a 1-to-1, you know? So yeah, I would say it's a very good trade. Yep. So this is invalidation 2 after that break, correct? And low, 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 low. I can see why you did this invalidation. See, like, this is what I was trying to refer to with moving your SL as soon as you get close to your TP. Like, let's say, for example, we're here and your invalidation is or your TP is very close. Now, rather than keeping the original invalidation, you use the micro one. I'm sorry, the micro one here, right? Because this break of structure created the final high, so this is a great invalidation. So you're now only risking this much profit rather than risking this much profit. So yeah, the management here is perfect as well. But yeah, this is exactly what I'm referring to is if we are up here and we're starting to reject, just move the invalidation, right, to at least to the highest reasonable point you can think of based on your rules. Do that, and you're now securing this much profit, which is still easily like a 1 to 1.7, 1.8 maybe. But yeah, very good trade, very good first trade. Second trade, yes, exactly. So I'm assuming we have a point of interest. Internally, we are bullish. Yes, we have a sell to buy. So that reaction. The only thing here is yes, there is a break, but I wouldn't consider this a CBOS. I would consider this break to be the CBOS, right? Because this wick high just isn't really giving me much. I don't see much from this candle here, right? Because if we are to break this high, then this is the high that created the low into the POI. So if that breaks, that is a CBOS, and then that would make this a 100% textbook A plus order flow disruption, right? But right? It can be a bit, yeah, it can be a bit subjective because at the end of the day, right, the what confirms the order flow disruption is the break of structure, but at the end of the day too, most of these candles we don't know exactly what's going on within them, so we can kind of just measure it based on movement going, right? And that's more of like a subjective thing that I don't really like to do much, but it's relatively similar to me assuming. Let's see if I have it still. Kind of to me assuming this is a sweep model because this is not a sweep model until we have the break and then we continue, right? So it is pretty aggressive that I'm waiting for here and I'm kind of solely going on a run on liquidity, right? But if that's understood, then there's no issue with that. So if you understand that that is semi-aggressive and you still take it, that's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, and there is an engulfing as well. So, the engulfing really kind of just gave that out there. But yeah, very good. Very, very good. But yeah, man, definitely. If there's one thing you take from this call, study these engulfings. The engulfings are very important. Cool. Okay, let's see, let's see. So, directionally bearish. This is not accumulation. If this was accumulation, this would have gone really high. So I would interpret this as yes, we have a bearish trend, and then I'm assuming there's a wick low here. I'm assuming. So IRL, don't know what that is. This break is our CBOS, right? So that solidifies either this low or this low. I can't see the wick, so whatever low it is, that solidifies that low. So once we have the internal bullish trend, we have low, high, low, high. Once that breaks, we do have a sweep. So if you are to take now a position based on the LGC, oops, sorry, LGC, then that is based on the LGC based on the previous direction. Then we can take an execution here, but the SL has to be here. SL has to be there because eventually you will take a stupid loss and you will miss out on a move. So better to be safe than sorry. Internal range liquidity. Doesn't matter to me, bro. Doesn't matter. But yeah, this is good as long as you maintain your SL. Just keep the SL at here because if this is to break, right? If this is to break, okay, now we have structural disruption. Why? Because we have a high into a low, retracement, solidified. If this breaks, okay, we now have structural disruption because this unwillingness created a new high, and then we can justify a move to the upside. No worries, man. Thank you for hopping on. Thank you. But yeah, just make sure your stop loss is here and you will be fine. Okay, we're in a deep discount, sorry. Deep discount. Sorry. Okay. Okay. I don't see much of a problem with this, except that we're selling at a very deep discount. So, for example, here, we're selling at a very low discount. Liquidity has already been taken. We could be overdue for a retracement, right? But obviously, that doesn't mean to buy, right? That's not what that means. That would just mean to me that once we take out a previous high, I would need a transition, right? So ever since then, this is still kind of meeting previous liquidity point, which wasn't swept yet. So yes, we swept the high, and yes, we swept the low. So I think the only thing I would say is you're selling a discount, but at the same time, we just have to realize as well that the models are not 100%. So of course, these moves you have to lose eventually. You have to lose sometimes, you know. Let's see, what are the other ones saying? Because there will be times where the entire model is textbook, and then it just won't give you the move, and that's okay. But yeah, either way, this POI to me doesn't make sense. I would not sell based on here. I would sell based on the buy to sell, right? But okay, now I actually see this. Okay, so something that usually invalidates my moves is if I have a reaction before my POI is hit. So obviously this would be my point of interest, right? Based on high to low. But what happened before that happened, right? Before we had order flow and we had a reaction. So once we have disruption, that means that we are now short-term bullish. So if I want to sell here now, I need a transition. I need a transition because there's already been an opposing transition occurring here. Okay, yeah, I did not see this in the other chart. Let's see. Yeah, I did not see that in the other chart. But yeah, as you can see, there is a very clear low being taken after a POI was shown. So this order flow disruption invalidates the original POI. So now here, I would have needed for this low to break at least. And then I justify a sell because if we break this low, then this high becomes solidified and that is unwillingness. And then we just continue higher, continue lower, sorry.
Yeah, now I see that. Now I see that. The
Mm-hmm.
Alfred sustained up with the drugs.
Yeah. Okay, let me actually. Okay, 3 charts. Okay, directionally bearish. Internal is bullish, correct? So my only problem here, yes, internally you are bullish, but your bearish POI still hasn't been tapped. So I don't see the justification for buying here. Because yes, you can argue that there's a model, but we're directionally bearish. Right? Where as here, now you have technically could have a type of model, right? Where you have an LGC potentially. Because yes, internally we are bullish, low, 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 CBOS, continuation, right? Meaning this is now solidified, and this is the first time a solidified low is broken. So that for me, 1 second, is the sign of a model where we actually have a solidified low being taken. Now we can argue an LGC and you use the right POI. So this one seems unjustified, but the justified one does make a lot more sense. Yeah, that's the thing too as well though. It's just like it's very tough to sell something that has been selling for a long time. That's why you have to be very conservative with the transitions. And that's why you can only, as a scalper, you can only aim for the immediate low, right? Like for example, this is EU, what, yesterday maybe? We know that the H4 has been completely dropping for the past, what, 2 weeks or so, right? So I would need, right, a very clear transition to then aim for a previous low, right? That's the only way I can justify the continuation. I cannot force that. But because you're selling in a deep discount, you also can't think that, okay, now it's time to reverse because you just don't know that. So that's the tough part.
Alfredo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I kind of struggle with something. So basically, on this setup, you know, the internet was bullish, so it shows a bullish direction.
Mm-hmm.
So based on the model, it says direction, liquidity, and the model. But the external was actually bullish.
Mm-hmm.
Was very sure. So direction was bullish. So it's confusing on which direction to focus on.
Yep,
So
exactly. Mm.
what do you do when it comes to
What
this kind of scenario
what what type of trader are you trying to be?
intraday?
But this is a scalp.
Uh, yeah, I kind of do both of them because of my job. So I'm always busy most
No,
of
yeah,
the
yeah, no,
time.
no, no. I'm not. Look, it doesn't matter why you choose the type of trader that you are. But if you want to be an intraday trader, bro, what are you doing on M1? You see what I mean? This is what I talked about like what 20 minutes ago, where it's just like the hardest part is is not necessarily knowing the type of trader that you are, but if you know the type of trader that you are, what time frames are you going to use to fit that? Because if you're intraday trading, you really don't have any business below M5 if you want to be that intraday trader, right? Because you're adding complexity, you're making it much more complex when you're trying to focus now on M1 based on a higher time frame thing, on a higher time frame um, bias. Sorry, you see what I mean? So you first have to solidify what type of trader you are, and if the excuse is time, then why are you scalping? If you have time, then you should scalp because you have the time to be on the chart. Because obviously, for example, your entry here, it was in the entry for 5 minutes. You know, so if you're wanting to be an intraday trader, then zoom out. You have no business here. No business here. You can get the same risk to reward, same amounts of trades, and probably even a higher win rate if you focus solely on your intraday trading. And obviously, it goes the same for scalping. But if you don't have the time to be on the chart when you're scalping, then you're only hurting yourself. So just focus on, if you want to be an intraday trader, focus on the intraday time frames. And this is all in the book.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. But yeah, let's see. Next one.
Yeah, Frederick, I just have a question for that trade.
This one?
Yeah, yeah, this one. The OFD here, was this considered a particular CBS reference to this leg? Because this was our solidified point that was previously. So there was a POI, reaction from the POI, again breaking that POI, just like
So if we are
breaking
taking
this
this,
POI and then
right, if we were taking this, this is a CVOS, low, high retracement. That target is met. So here, the
mm-hmm,
CBOS is breaking this, technically. But the full BOS would technically be here.
uh-huh. So there is no OFD in the sell side, like this OFD. I'm talking about this one. Coming
Uh,
into a POI, came up,
yes, it
and
could
again
be.
there. and
I
then
can't
CBOS.
I just can't see it on this time frame. Like I don't know if this is a POI.
Yeah,
Let
okay.
me
So
see.
that's
Just based on I'm going based on what you're giving me, you know, like on what you guys give me.
Mhm.
So here I don't see a POI. There could be a POI maybe on M3, M5, but I don't see that. That's why I can't note that.
Okay, okay,
Mhm.
got it.
So yes, it could be a POI, just not on this time frame. But here,
But for the purpose of supposing, if we do have a PO here, then was that OMP or not?
yes, 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 yes. Yes, if there is a
Okay,
POI here,
thanks.
then yes, CBOS break.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.
Hmm. See here of the yes, low, low, low. Did you buy off of the engulfing?
Yeah. No, no, no. So after the break, I wanted to buy, but it mixed it. So
Mm-hmm.
um, it retraced back and I bought. So I think you should check the next image.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought based on the LGC, internal LGC in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I took profit above the high. Then I sold because of the LGC that was coming from the bearish direction.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a break after that again. I sold again.
Okay, so this is actually a way better. Okay, this one's a better picture. Okay, so I don't mind this at all. The only problem here now is if we're playing this POI, we have a reaction. So now, if this reaction is to take place, then we can't potentially consider that an invalidation solely because this would be a structural disruption to the upside, even if we're not invalidating this yet. So I'm assuming you TP'd here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Um, because at the same time, this is the reversal side of it as well. But you have to consider we are bearish. We have potentially a structural disruption, but the structural disruption isn't confirmed until this is broken, right? But you do understand that this break causes the internal to be bullish, making this execution correct.
Yeah.
Now with the sell, I don't really have a problem with it. I think that's fine. It's not just a matter of how you're going to manage this. Because is this still in play or is this?
Yeah. I just sent you the updated chart
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
So um I took that, but the second entry for the sell,
Mm-hmm.
um I think there was a news, then I closed that. Then on
This
the
one.
first one, yeah, I sent you the updated chart now. You just do that.
Okay. Ah, very nice. Very nice.
So
Yeah,
because of I
very
saw a
nice.
flash crash, then I closed it. The second one, then the first one,
Mm-hmm.
I closed 50% when it took that low, but I was seeing that it was retracing up. So I put um my stop loss at entry, but that one it's break even. And that was the end of the trade.
That's fine. No, I have no complaints here. This is fine. This is good. Yeah, the TP here is very good. But you see what I mean? Like these are scalp trades, you know? These are not intraday trades. So if you want to be a scalper, that's okay. But you have to accommodate for that, you know?
Okay.
But yeah, no
But would you
complaints.
have taken would you have put your stop loss at entry on the first sell trade?
Mm-hmm.
How would you have managed that?
I never move my stop loss to entry. I never do that. I go based on highs. So, for example, here, I wouldn't have moved my SL here because that would have been exactly what I would have done in the Euro USD trade, which was this one, where I didn't move my SL just off the immediate break. I wouldn't have moved it there. But once I see this, then it's just this is where my invalidation is after that break. And I would only move it to here after this break.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
So it's always I always go based on the break. See if I have a CBOS continuation, okay, move it to the recent high. But then it's really personal preference whether you want to use this high or this high. That's then just on you.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's see this. Excuse me. Liquidity swept. LG's confirmed. And then you waited for the model, right? We do have OFD here. Perfect. Yeah, this is perfect. Yep, this is why we wait for a model, right? And then we go based on the reaction. So really, after the model, it really doesn't matter how you enter, as long as your SL is at, right, at least some type of invalidation. But yeah, this is good. It's good. Okay, reaction confirmed. Reaction confirmed, yes. After the sweep, yes. Okay. Okay. So yeah, there was no entry here. Yeah, man. I see no entry there. Yeah, man. It happens. It is what it is.
Yeah, I waited for this entry for about literally 2 hours, and this fucking pair, this came in and went without me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was so pissed here. I was so pissed. Eventually got another loss after that because I just like was following the missed opportunity and so.
Yeah, it happens, bro. Like there's sometimes like you just won't get your POI to be hit. It is what it is, bro. But yeah, no complaints here. The case was good. Just didn't reach your entry. Is what it is. The case is good. Because you could have even taken this, but the problem would have been where do you put your SL? You know, because if you're putting your SL here, you're kind of guessing. So I don't see. There's no problems here. No problems here. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, learning, improving, repeating, learning, improving, and repeating. The simple rule.
Trades for the week. Okay. So here, the only mistake I see is that if you're going for this transition, just aim for the previous sell. Right, this is why we aim for structural lows because that's all. There's liquidity under every single high and low, so I just think that's the safest type of TP that you can take, especially if we're focused on structure. If we have a low into a high and we have a retracement, then if we are continuing the trend, we are almost guaranteed this. Almost guaranteed.
Okay, I get.
As long as you take your tray, I mean your
Instead of the POI, just use the relative load that was down there.
exactly. Yep. Because there is a low into a high here, and that is a structural range. So who's to say we don't just come back into this zone and then create a new high?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Like get a reaction from that side.
Mm-hmm. Because there was.
But my thing was like when I walked away from the screen, I later noticed that it went to get to the that level,
Mm-hmm.
but it had a like deeper retracements before it went in there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like later on I was reanalyzing everything and then I noticed that like my entry point was wrong and I should have targeted, like you said, this level instead of this level.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wanted to get to this level, I had to take it from premium, like
Then you
a
have
higher
to
premium.
invalidate. The invalidation would have to be up here.
Okay, okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But I was also like thinking about it. If you were going to, I wasn't behind the screen at this point in time. For most of the trades, I realized I wasn't behind the screen. But if you were going to manage these trades, how would you like? Would it be safe to say putting my SL here would have been better? Like, if would it make sense if I didn't just put the
Yeah,
TP
it
here
would
and
have. Yeah, it would have
okay,
because if this, you could obviously see that the order flow is still intact,
yeah,
right? So then if this is to react and then break, that's disruption, and that invalidates the whole thing.
okay, okay,
Hmm. So there's no correct thing to do in terms of do you manage it or do you just wait for TPSL? There's no correct way,
yeah,
it's just which one works for you the best.
okay, 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 got it.
Easier said than done, of course, but
Yeah, like for most of the other trades that I sent as well, like I realized that I'm okay with the getting into the trade, but now the main problem I'm having is with managing the trades. I'm having a hard time because it's like I really don't know how to manage most of the trades because it's either I'm managing it too tightly or I'm too loose with it, and then it goes back to break even. Like
hmm
that's most of the other trades that I sent in, which is
exactly.
the
So
uh,
then it would make sense to manage if your trade is going to your TP, close to your TP, then your break even, then it's a management problem. But if you're just getting a reaction and then straight to stop loss, that's more so a direction thing.
okay, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, let's see the next ones. Mhm. Okay, this one, I think this is a bit forced, this first one, solely because you kind of had that reaction there and this is still in play, which is why I gave
Yeah.
the reaction to the upside.
That one was more of a risky entry for
hmm
me
hmm
because it was still in. It was this one was still in a bullish. It still had the bullish momentum,
hmm
but I hadn't gotten any trade the whole day, and I realized most of the time waiting for the reaction, I get like I don't get to like for this one. Even though there was a reaction on this end, there wasn't any pull back to get to that side to go down.
hmm
So I just took the trade, understanding that this is more risky, but I was like, I understood the trade and
That's
I was
okay.
like, okay,
That's okay. And if you ever feel like it's a bit aggressive, then just use your invalidation as a stop loss because this invalidation would invalidate the entire bias.
okay, okay, okay,
Yep. And then that way, if you use this invalidation, then you can aim for this low.
okay, okay. And just wait. Okay, okay, okay. Makes sense. Invalidation.
But yeah, and then I do like this entry as well. I do like this one.
Okay. I was trying to get to this, but then I couldn't be too tight about it, so I just entered and then just left it to go.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's fine. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Now my issue here is where is the TP here? Or why is there
Um,
the TP?
with this one, this wasn't the TP, it was like more break even
Oh,
because I was
it
managing.
trailed.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
was trailing. it tightly, but the TP was down here,
Mm-hmm.
but it got to it later on. But whilst I was managing this trade, something popped up and I had to go get an errand, fix some stuff. So when I saw this, I just trailed it here and then I left it. And then I saw this trade, took this trade, and then I just left it. And then whilst I was in the car, and then I noticed this was hit, and then this was also hit, but it was okay for me because this TP being hit, this SL being hit was like a safeguard for this trade being lost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see.
But this trade was actually, I realized later on I was chasing the trade, and that's why that happened. I
Yeah.
took that.
Yeah, this one, it just really just depends on where you are externally because the target has already been met.
Okay.
Like this, in my opinion, is a very important liquidity point because we required all of this price to then come back down here. So yes, you
Okay.
got the second continuation, but now at this point, nothing is going to trend forever. Something you're going to have a pullback before a continuation.
Okay. 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 So I just bought at the wrong time instead
Yeah,
of
it's just a
waiting.
timing thing. It's not a model thing.
Okay.
Because, for
Okay.
example, you see that this pulled back,
Into that.
yeah, which is the buy to sell.
Yes. Okay.
And then from
Thank
here, you can aim for the previous sell.
you. Okay. And I'm now getting a little handle of the timing. Most of my timings are wrong. So I'm now getting a little handle of, okay, the time I'm supposed to be in this kind of trades. And
Especially when you're
with,
scalping, you can zoom out a bit as well. You can go to M2, M3, maybe get a
okay.
bigger picture, get more data, and then see where you
Okay.
are if, you know,
Yes. Gotcha. Thank
because
you.
this is technically a discount premium, but we can't assume this is a premium because we haven't solidified the low yet completely.
Okay.
So
Okay.
once this entire thing is solidified and we have the full pullback, okay, now this is a premium, this is a discount. I want to sell in a premium.
Okay. Confluence. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. 100 S&P. S&P moves, bro. It moves. I didn't expect it to be moving like that all the time. And what's cool is even though I only take executions Tuesday to Thursday, that's a FX thing. That's not a commodity index thing. So I don't know if that'll be the same route. Maybe now I can actually find trades on Mondays and Fridays as well. At least Monday, at least. Okay. Okay. This is a failed reaction here. So we can anticipate continuation. And it gave the reaction, didn't give the follow through. Gave the reaction, didn't give the follow through. But then this is a model now. So yes, this should be technically what makes sense. And I'm assuming this is a loss. Okay, that's fine. What do you think went wrong here?
Um, for me, I don't think so. There was something wrong. Like the order flow description was right. There was a proper continuation break structure. But the only thing was that we were buying in high premium.
Mm-hmm. Because
The
here,
only issue that seems.
yeah, here, this is bearish, but this is now bullish based on that move. So technically we can like look for a higher term or higher time frame trade here to the upside. So this could be simply a timing thing where yes, this liquidity could be taken, and then maybe now that you've taken out relative equal lows, you take this out, and then we see a transition, then we can justify a move. So it could just be a timing issue. I don't think this is a model issue at all. And as far as OFD, I would consider this the entire POI, just to be safe. But yeah, I would just say it could just be a timing thing here.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
But yeah,
Okay.
like I said, the models aren't 100%. They're not supposed to be.
Yeah, obviously, there were
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 losses for the past 2 weeks. This week and the previous week. There
Hmm.
were 2 or 3 losses with the models, but eventually it all falls in the timing stuff.
Yeah. Which is the hardest part about scalping. Getting the timing right and actually executing based on the timing, just because entries are there for what? 5 minutes? Let's see. Okay. Okay. I do see the LGC. But now if this is going to react, I don't know if this would react. Good. This is good. So you're buying at a discount because this is technically still bearish internally. You have reaction of a POI plus a model. I would say this is disruption. This is not an LGC because you are bearish. I would say there's
Yeah,
definitely,
This was my question in that one. This
yeah,
was my real question, and I understood. This is true.
yeah. This would more so be like a structural disruption. But the POI here, I think, really saved you because the POI implies that you have unwillingness after the break as well. So yeah, this is good. Now the problem is, where is the TP? Okay, you're aiming for the previous high. So how would you manage this then? Because right now your invalidation is technically here. Because we have CBOS continuation and we have a CBOS, but we haven't gotten the continuation. So if this is to break, then I can move my SL here.
Honestly, I don't like do more of the management side right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just focusing on the models and the results for now, and I hope so. It will be like coming in like a month or two. I will be managing the trades as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just the initial part. I don't manage trades for right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even like imagine them managing
Mm-hmm.
for the current situation that like I am progressing day by day. I'm not like very perfect at that, so everything will come on its own time.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting for the perfect time.
Okay. Okay, cool. This is looking good. This is looking good. So your TP was here? No, wait, is that right now? Or was that earlier today?
Which one?
This one. 11:05. 27:34:9. 27:34:9. Okay, no, this was a previous day, right?
Yeah, all of them were previous. I have one. I had one position for today, but I'm not gonna watch that and work that until I have got my results.
Okay, cool. No, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Just keep doing your thing. But yeah, actually, let's see, what has this been doing? This has been playing out. I think I had a. This was like a couple of weeks ago. This was my bias pretty much like a couple of. What is this? 2 weeks ago ish. 2 weeks ago ish. And it looks like that wants to keep playing out. But yeah, I still think we're going to be bearish here. I need to see this low get swept. But yeah, other than that, any more questions, any more case studies? Anything else you guys like to know?
Yeah, for me, I don't have any more of the case studies. I think Tam should have one. I think so.
Sorry?
I think so that Tam should have one case study,
Oh,
in my opinion.
is he on here today?
But yeah. I called him on Instagram. I
Mhm.
don't have his number, so I just called him on Instagram and he just hopped in. Let me see, is he in? Yeah, he is here. I think that he has one. Not sure.
Cool. But yeah, any more case studies, guys? Anything else? It's been about an hour and a half. Cool. Anything else? Give you guys like a couple more minutes. Website unlocked. Did I go? Good question. I don't think you can. I don't think you can right now. I have to go double check that for sure. But send me a DM on Discord and I'll go ahead and ask right now. Cool, no worries. But either way, this one will go up on YouTube since I had the public people on as well.
I had a question that will you be posting like the journal reviews from your site in the public section of YouTube channel or not?
Sorry?
Like the journals that people submit to you and
Mhm.
you review them. Are you gonna be posting them in future any time on YouTube or not? Because I can see the webinars and I can see the case studies here, but I am unable to see the
Yeah,
you can see the
I never
journals.
did. I never like there was supposed to be a series like every Saturday I would post journal reviews that people send, but nobody sent any, so it is what it is.
Um,
The
okay,
journal the
got
journal
it.
reviews I do, the only journal reviews I do right now are just members that DM them to me Friday and Saturday, and I just send it back to them.
Mhm, got it.
I don't post those on YouTube. There's a lot of the journals have like personal info or like personal thoughts that I would rather not post.
Yeah, okay, so like I can also DM you my journals, and will
No,
you
no,
be able to review them or not?
that's additional, bro. That's in the website. I don't do those for free.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, got it. Thanks.
No worries. Best way to balance job with trading, bro. Fuck balance, man. If you want something, you're gonna have to sacrifice. That's just the bottom line. Yeah, man. Something that I also ask myself is, do I actually not have time, or am I just wasting too much time? And it's definitely more than likely I'm wasting too much time. That's why I'm having to rush things. Yeah, time management. It's very difficult handling multiple things, but it's doable. Yeah, it's very difficult, bro, for sure. It's very difficult. It's difficult being consistent with it, I would say, is the hardest thing. Cause like I tried the whole like time blocking this time for these activities every single day, and it's hard because stuff changes up. My schedule is not consistent. Like different days, different things to do, and then new things can pop up as well. So I just try to be efficient with most of my work.
Fredo?
Hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about how do you balance your if you have a job with trading. So basically, I'm a UX researcher and a designer. So um, I work for a company in the UK. So most of the time, my schedules are not consistent.
Uh-huh.
So when I analyze the chart, probably I'm working on research, and probably I also analyze at that particular time. Then I try to execute my trade. Then I'm in a meeting again. So it's difficult to balance those track record
Hmm.
with probably there. Just check after execution, I tend to look through my trade, and I could see that I shouldn't have executed that trade, or I shouldn't have been in the trade in the first place, or I've rushed something, or I was not paying attention to something. So it's just headache.
It
So
is, bro. And you also have to be mindful that you can't work all day. Like
um,
most people have like 4 hours of deep work in them every single day, of like your peak high quality work. No more than 4 hours usually for most people.
yeah,
So you also have
I
to
think
balance around that.
yeah, I think you're right because for me I work from home most of the time, so I don't go to the office. So it's stressful when you work from home and that's just your routine, just work and that is just it. It's really difficult.
It is 100% very difficult. And for me though, it's also like changing your perspective on what actions that you're doing. Like for me, work is like trading, RCV stuff, and any other initiative that I have. But like other people would consider like working out to be work. I don't really consider it that because of like what I think of work, like what I think of working out, sorry. And the working out part for me, I could train an hour to 3 hours a day, and that's not work to me because that's more so not for a financial gain. It's more so for a personal, like a personal goal that I'm trying to reach, let's say X amount of weight over X amount of time. Even though I don't completely track it that way, I don't see it as work because I genuinely enjoy it. So I don't know if you genuinely enjoy trading or your work or whatever, but if you do, I think that's kind of offsets the stress of thinking of something as work. I hope that makes sense. It's a bit confusing.
Yeah, it does. Oh, you know, so I used to try to trade. I used to freelance and try to trade like if 80% of the time and design or research 20% of the time. But it was difficult because I had a lot of things I need to settle and stuff like that. But I noticed that I was forcing trade even when I was trying to trade more. So I was forcing more trade because I was trading more. But so I tried to put myself in different activities so I could trade less. When I tried to do that, also there was a challenge of trying to balance my time. So it's a struggle
Hmm.
of to also doing it lesser or doing it more. So
Hmm.
it's difficult.
Yeah, man. It's just the thing is like there is no. there's no like secret to it, you know? There is no like you can tell me how do you manage this, but like realistically, what can I say?
Mm.
Like at the end of the day, it's either you're gonna have to sacrifice more in terms of like time outside of whatever to get your job and your duties going, or you're gonna have to give up some of the things that you're already doing that maybe do not benefit you right now. Like you're either gonna have to lose more time or lose time with others, or you're gonna have to give up some of the things that you're doing now that just don't benefit you. Like so it kind of will fall back to like what is it that you want? What is your goal? Where do you want to get to? And then
Mm.
starting from there.
Yeah, I think that works. Thank you.
Yeah. Like there is no right answer, you know. There's I could not give you the right answer to that, you know. Yep, priorities for sure. Priorities is definitely a thing. Yeah, man. Honestly, like I'm a firm believer of it's easy to get what you want when you know what you want. I don't think most people know what they actually genuinely want. Most people maybe just want something because they see it on social media or somebody else does it or they're comparing themselves to someone and you know what I mean? So it's not just about what you want, but is that actually what you want or is that just you trying to prove something to someone? Is it to prove it to yourself, right? And if it's for others, you're proving it for others, maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing, but will you be fulfilled if you were to prove this person wrong? You know, it's how did you find out what you want, bro? Pff, I don't know what I want, man. I'm figuring this out every day, just like all y'all. Like nobody figures it out, you know. You just go with it. It's just and then obviously like I'm only 25, right? Like my priorities will change in 5 years, and maybe I will want different things. Once you have a why, you can bear any how. That I think that's incomplete because just because you want something does not mean you're willing to do the work. So it's a want and a will thing as well. Like that's why I say that it falls down to what you want because if that is genuinely what you want, then you will figure out how to get there. Because if you want it enough, then you're willing to go through whatever is necessary to get there, you know what I mean? Yeah, man. And I mean if that's your passion, then go for it, bro. I mean, cool. But yeah, other than that, any more questions? Do you do any mindfulness, bro? Honestly, it's something I've really slacked on over like the years. Like back in like 2021, I was super big into that. Like I wasn't meditating, but I was actively working on my mindfulness. And it's something I've definitely slacked on over the years. It's something that I need to get back on. Whether it's grounding, praying, meditating, it's definitely something I've slacked on for sure.
Um, Hi, Fredo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how familiar you are with this transformation in technology. How do you think these advancements in AIs will transform the trading
Ooh.
ecosystem?
With trading, that I wouldn't know how to answer, but I think AI will be. It's probably AI is probably the coolest thing we found since the internet, probably because AI isn't something we've made. Like I don't see it as something that was made. I see it as something that we found. Right? It's a discovery. We don't know what it can do yet. We don't know its capabilities just yet. That's why it's still improving and it's improving fast. So how can it affect trading? No, I have no clue. I still think it's very new, but I think it's something that we have found that can change the world completely, for the good, for the bad. Who knows, right? But you think AI is made? So do you think?
Um,
So do you think the internet is made as well?
yeah, like so for
Okay,
my own idea.
interesting. I could be completely wrong, right? But this is that's something that I had a conversation with this guy who's like heavy into AI, heavy into all types of automations, and those were kind of what he mentioned to me. It's like it's a discovery, like because we genuinely don't know how far this can go yet. So maybe I could be
Yeah,
wrong, but yeah.
yeah, I think you are right, but I think my only issue with AI is just data because without data, the AI would so they only produce the kind of data we fed into them.
Hmm.
Just imagine that the world is out of data. That means that there's no AI
Well, that's
logically.
that's impossible though. There's data will always come as long as time is continuing.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So
Hmm.
basically, um, it depends on the kind of data you keep getting,
Hmm.
determine how AI will function for a very long time. So, for example, now in trading, um, trading is just random. Like logically, it's not from my own idea of how these things work. It's just more of consistently random data. So if these data are fed into AIs in the long run, is it possible to stop retail traders from trading because they feel like it's now consistently generating fund for people. Do you
Hmm.
understand what I mean? So that means that um, big um, big players are making more money because they are using AIs, in which smaller traders can't afford, and they will stop them from trading.
Mm. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah,
Hey.
the company BlackRock finds the liquidities of the retailers by using the algorithm they have.
Yeah, exactly.
The algorithm is so powerful that it can just uh, like uh, it can just what do we say that predict the figure based upon the expression of the CEO of it. Just like that day, the CEO was looking like this, wearing this kind of this shirt, and his face expression was this. So we have to move the markets from there and there.
Hmm.
This is how the algorithms of BlackRock are working right now.
Okay. Interesting. But what was the point of the question? Like, what were we getting at here?
So the point of the question is just what do you think the future of trading is with transformation of AI?
Oh, that I don't have an answer for you. If I'm being honest, that's out of my scope. If I'm being honest.
Oh,
You ever looked into Alan Turing? He made the first computer in World War II for code breaking. Yeah, because I mean, that is a tough question. Like for example, I guess it could be the same for math. Like, was math created or found?
math was discovered.
Yeah, was it this? Yeah, exactly. I don't do we make math? Like obviously that's a genuine question, right? Like I have no clue, right? Like I haven't studied the origin of mathematics, right? But like I don't know, I just something in me tells me that it's a bit, I don't want to say naive, but I'll just say naive for argument purposes, that to think that we created this stuff, you know? But yeah, that's probably a whole another rabbit hole. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess it doesn't matter. To each their own, right? It doesn't really matter. Yeah, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, interesting that y'all both said the same thing. That's crazy. But yeah, I guess I might look into that this weekend. But I'm definitely interested to see if we actually will see some type of, or actually see how far AI will go. Let's say even the next year. But yeah, definitely we can wrap it up here. I appreciate you guys for getting on here. I will make sure to post this hopefully today. But yeah, I appreciate you guys hopping on, and I'll see you guys in the next one.